everybody, and welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys. This week I am joined with Gene's Got Picks. Gene, how you doing this week?
Hey man, I'm doing great. I'm thankful to be back on the pod.
Yeah, I think we had a good one the week before last. Pretty good time, and have another good one this week. What do you say?
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, for kind of a slow uh, time of the year, right, that lull right before football season. There's been quite a bit going on this week.
Yeah, a lot of camp talk. I've been seeing a bunch of joint practices and fights going on. That has been kind of keeping me above float since, like I said, we've been having this lull of really just watching backups in preseason.
Yeah. Well, so we'll go ahead and get started with our best thing I saw from last week, and then the worst thing. So, if you want to start with your best, you could go ahead.
My best thing I saw from last week, I'm gonna have to start out with my Rangers. The winning streak has ended, but we had an 8 game winning streak we was going on for a while. The A's ended it. They shut us out. That did.
All right, you're back.
All right. Well, I don't know where we left off at exactly. I'll just go back from where I was going. The Rangers are on their 8 game win streak. That's probably been the best thing as far uh, going for me as far as last week. Um, seeing the boys buy in, we brought in new talent. You always don't know how they're going to respond with new guys in the locker room, and seeing them go on an 8 game win streak. After that, take a series against San Francisco, and then also take a series against the Angels. That's the best thing I've seen last week.
Yeah, it's they've been on a pretty good roll here, and I know this coming weekend they play the Brewers, and I need a Rangers sweep for my Reds' sake.
Hey, we're gonna try to do the best we can.
Yeah, I hope they can get it done because the Reds they're hanging in there. Although they haven't played their best since the break, but they're still just 2 games back. The Dodgers helped out with a sweep of the Brewers, and hopefully the Rangers can do the same this weekend for
Yeah, like I
them.
said last time I was on the pod, I still think the Cincinnati Reds offense, if they can get it rolling, I think they can outplay the pitching that you may have to throw out there sometimes. But they have to kind of get it going now because we're getting into into late August and then September's right around the corner. You can't have you know losing series against teams that's beneath you. You got to take some of those games that they've been losing.
Absolutely, and this weekend they've got the Blue Jays, which is a pretty good team out of the East in the American League. But hopefully they could take at least 2 or 3 from them and kind of get that momentum back up and going.
Yeah, I think definitely if you beat the Blue Jays, that would be the momentum you would need to get everybody clicking again because Blue Jays are a playoff team, so that was
Yes,
definitely a series to get right.
yeah. But my best, actually, there hasn't been a whole lot of best this week for me, like with my teams or anything like that. So I'm going to go back. Failed to mention it on the podcast last week, but Michael Lorenzen, former Red, throwing that no hitter. Uh,
Oh yeah.
he was a fan favorite for the Reds here for forever. He played a little bit of outfield. He was mostly a relief pitcher, and then the Reds traded him off to the Angels, and then he went to the Tigers. Made the All Star team this year with a losing
Yeah.
record, but he goes to Philadelphia and throws a no hitter in front of his family, which was awesome to see. So that would probably be my best of the week. If I'm kind of cheating a little bit there because I failed to mention it last week. So that was my
But
best.
him hitting the no hitter, that was pretty impressive. I'm actually excited to see how the Phillies play down the stretch because they're another team that bought in, and it seemed like the boys are are ready to make that final push. I think they had brought up a guy from the minors. I saw a story where he was in the minors for like 7 years, and his first at bat he hit a home run. Like
Yeah,
those are
I
the
saw
type of
that.
moments you need for your team to kind of make that final push in the season.
Yeah, but I'll go on with my worst thing I saw the week is actually it's none of my sports teams again, although I could throw the Reds out there again because of their struggles, but I won't go there this time. It is actually last night I was watching preseason football. The
Mhm.
Browns and the Eagles. I almost said the Phillies. And Tyrie Cleveland, wide receiver for the Eagles, goes after a pass, comes down on his neck, and is carted off afterwards. You hate to see that. We see it too often here recently, especially in the NFL. Neck injuries, head injuries. You know, Hamlin last year pretty much died on the field and was brought
Yeah,
back.
very.
But that's you always hate to see that. I know Philadelphia is a big rivalry of your team, and Cleveland's a big rivalry of my team. But all that aside, you just hope this kid can come back from it. He was like on the verge of making the roster, like he wasn't guaranteed a spot, and he was right there. He played good the first week, and then this happens to him. You just feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, like you said, outside of rivalries, like at the end of the day, these are human beings and real life situations that they have to go through. The last thing I want to see is a neck injury and having to be carted off. There's so many questions, that you have to go through your mind to see if they can walk again one day. So, and
Yeah,
that's definitely something you don't want to see, regardless if they're your rival or, if there's just a team that you don't even care about. You want to see everybody able to go home to their family and friends and just enjoy the next day of just life.
absolutely.
I'm gonna get into my worst thing I saw. Don't be mad at me. We talked
Okay.
about this last. We talked about it last time. The Bengals backup QB situation. I watched a little
Yeah.
bit of the game when they played the Packers, and it is preseason, so I really don't care about the final score, even though it wasn't pretty.
No, it was not.
But when you have both guys who's fighting for the backup QB spot. And I think both guys can make the roster. I think with the new rule that you can have three quarterbacks on the roster and the third one don't really count against you. But the guys got to separate. We got to figure out who is QB2. And neither one of these guys are separating from each other. Definitely both throwing interceptions in the game. Like that is a still big question mark I have for the Bengals, knowing that Joe Burrow could maybe miss 1 or 2 games, or you may want to sit Joe Burrow 1 or 2 games if you have a great record late into December and January. You may want to sit him a game and just let your backup quarterback you know get you a win, or just show that he can play the game of football. Trevor Simeon and Browning, I mean, these guys are not showing me at all that they have it at this level. I mean, they're showing me that they're XFL quarterbacks at best right now. That's the worst thing I've seen last week.
Um. So the next thing, we'll go back to the Reds here right quick. The Reds split the series with the Guardians. On that day, they also designated for assignment Luke Weaver. Long time coming. This guy had like 11 something ERA. The Reds would always score when he pitched, but he needed to go, and Hunter Green's coming back, so he will take his place, which hopefully he stays healthy, because if he's healthy, that's an arm that the Reds much needed for the rest of this season into the playoff push.
So I wasn't following much of Luca Weaver's situation. What did he injure exactly?
Uh, he didn't injure anything. They just got rid of him.
Oh, he hit just so bad. Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
that's how out of. Okay, so I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they did it. I think they made the announcement. Hey,
Hey, I'm back.
all right. So yeah, I think I was talking about Hunter Green will be back, and the Reds making a playoff push with the arm, and that's the reason why you didn't make a trade at the deadline. Was because you had him and Nick Lodolo coming back. So we'll see if that works out for him. Like I said, they DFA'd Weaver, which was a good thing for all Reds fans watching.
But you said, if I remember correctly, you said he had a 11 ERA.
Yeah, well, that was like there was a crazy stat earlier in the season. Like the Reds were 9-1 in his last 12 starts, and he had like an 11 something ERA in those starts. So
Man,
yeah, yeah,
that is a problem. But at the same time, like your offense is so electric that they can pick up his weight. But man, a 9-1 record with a 11 ERA is pretty bad. And for him to just now be DFA'd, oh man, like that is. So Nick Lodolo's coming back, right? And Hunter Green is around the corner. So what does the rotation probably look like maybe at the beginning of September? 'Cause I think you said Hunter Green would be back around September.
So have you your guy Ezekiel Elliott signed with the New England Patriots this past week?
Yeah. Man, that is doesn't feel right. Seeing him, he cut his hair, he changed his number. I hope the best. Don't get me wrong. I hope the best, truly for Zeke, but it just does not feel right seeing him as a Patriot. The only thing I would say that's okay, I'm okay with it is that he's in the AFC. So it would have been really bad if he would have went to the Eagles or the Giants or the Commanders. But it's gonna be, it's gonna be pretty exciting to see how he play in the Bill Belichick system rather than I guess you could say the Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy system.
Oh, okay, my bad. It went out or something there for a second.
Oh, oh yeah,
Anyways,
I was just saying on it's going to be pretty exciting to see how Zeke plays different in the different systems.
yeah, I assume he'll be in a backup role with the Patriots. They've got Ramondre Stevenson. I say he's probably going to be the starter. It'll
Hmm.
be interesting to see how Zeke fits in with that system. That is a tough division as well. With
Oh,
yeah, and you know, so in that division, Dalvin Cook signs with the Jets this past week as well, which
yeah,
that's been coming for a few weeks now. Rodgers took a
yeah,
pay cut in order to pay some more players, and Dalvin Cook is one of the free agents that they go after there. How do you
yeah. I
think
think
he'll fit in with the Jets?
didn't he go camp for a little bit, just watching and trying to basically get some camera time for the media and stuff like that.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a good fit. They have basically a three-headed monster because Brees Hall, we all know how great he is before the injury and all that. But
yep,
Michael Carter was also a pretty serviceable back last time he was out. So it's
yep.
going to be pretty interesting how they split the carries, how they also feed the receivers. Like it's going to be interesting to see how
Cook and how he's going to fit in with the Jets. Is Brees Hall still out?
from what I heard, he was activated as soon as Dalvin Cook had been signed. So I don't know if they're going to necessarily play him week 1, but I did hear that he's going to be activated. It's going to be interesting to see how they feed the ball to their playmakers because uh, you have three very good running backs, I think, and you have a receiving core that's been upgraded, you know, let alone with just Rodgers being in the building. It was the biggest upgrade for him. So it's gonna be pretty
Yeah.
interesting for the Jets and seeing how they basically share the ball.
Yeah, they've got a lot of weapons there, but the main thing with the Jets, have you watched any of the Hard Knocks this year?
I have not. I've seen like clips and stuff from Twitter, but I haven't sat down and just watched the episode yet.
So I love Hard Knocks. It's just where you can sit there and you can watch a team through training camp and the growing pains and the fighting and all that stuff. But in the
Yeah.
second episode, they were talking about the defense, how great the defense was last year. Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, I was talking about
Yeah,
the offensive line
yeah.
for the
The
Jets.
offensive line has been a big question mark. I think that's one of the only question marks on the team because you know you have it at quarterback, you know you have running back, you know you have receivers, and then you know that defense last year, uh, could have gave them a playoff run if they had a serviceable quarterback. So the O line right now is the biggest question mark. I've been seeing them kind of tease and say that Bakhtiari from the Packers would be a trade target for them. But I mean, let's be honest. The Packers already sent Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I doubt they're going to send their star left tackle to the Jets as well. That would be terrible business.
Yeah,
So I have a big question mark on the O line, but at the same time, when you have Aaron Rodgers, you almost
yes.
have to have toddlers blocking for him to have a problem.
Yeah. Well, there was a report earlier in this week. They were practicing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and apparently they got to Rodgers like 11 times in the practice.
Man.
And the very next day, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of that. So I can't wait to see Hard Knocks next week to see how that went down.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of getting to those O linemen there and letting them know something about themselves. If you're letting your quarterback get pressured 11 times in practice, that's a problem. The preseason top 25, you said,
Yeah, have you seen the rankings that came out?
for college football, right?
Yes, college football.
I have not seen it yet. I hope. I don't think we spoke about this last time. Our college team is Texas, so we
Yeah,
have been the laughing stock of college football for a while. I hope that we're in the top 25. I haven't seen it.
Texas rolls in at number 11.
Okay.
Georgia is number 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, LSU 5.
Okay. LSU at number 5.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Um,
had a great recruiting class because LSU didn't have the best year last year.
they I can't remember. They beat Alabama last year, right? With because Brian Kelly's first year.
Yeah, and it was a big thing that he had beat
Yeah.
Bama.
I think they beat Bama, and then like they lost to Tennessee or something like that. And, like all their momentum was gone. They did
Yeah.
make the SEC championship, and Georgia beat them. But yeah, I don't know if I would have them in the top 5 this year.
Yeah, top 5 was like that was a shocker to hear. So I know you're a Kentucky guy, and
Yes.
I'm and they're not in this preseason top 25. How do you feel though about the season? Do you think you will exceed just the make it to a bowl game expectation, or how do we feel about Kentucky?
Well, so I went through the schedule here several times. I think that if Devin Leary comes in and can live up to the hype, because he was a projected first round pick before the beginning of last season,
Mm-hmm.
before he got hurt. So this is as crazy as it may sound, this is a possible upgrade over a Will Levis. Plus, they've got 2 star receivers that are going to be true sophomores that balled out last year as freshmen. If they can play up to that, and the defense has like almost everybody back, I could see them winning 8 or 9 games.
Okay.
Now
See,
that's on the top end, and my expectations would be
yeah,
9.
I would say that he is a is a killer of a conference to go through. Like You know, you would think a team like, Vanderbilt, are just pushovers, but in the Big 12, they can mess around and win it. Like, SEC is just that tough of a of a conference.
Yeah, and it's only going to get tougher next year. Is your Longhorns and Oklahoma comes into the conference, and it's just going to be brutal,
Yeah.
start to finish.
Yeah, when Texas had announced that they was going to be SEC, part of me was excited because you need to be in that type of conference for recruiting, because everybody knows that SEC kind of builds NFL players that you will see. So, it was exciting, but man, I mean, Texas struggled to make it out of the Big 12, so,
Yeah.
and Oklahoma, they have the pedigree of being good. They haven't been the best lately, but they have the pedigree of being good, and so now you're adding that into the fire. It's going to be pretty interesting on how, teams adjust because the guys in the SEC to me it just look bigger and faster than any other conference in the NCAA.
Oh, it's a feeder system for the NFL. It's like the minor leagues. SEC is football.
Yeah.
Uh, but is Arch Manning or Quinn Ewers starting for Texas this year?
So when I was watching the spring football game, Quinn Ewers had all the number one reps, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Arch Manning is gonna it's gonna take some time because he got to develop he has all the tangibles of being a great quarterback, but he just has to develop the reading and understanding what he's seeing. Sometimes he struggled a lot in the spring game trying to decide where he needed to throw the ball and when he needed to throw it. So
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, last year, if he didn't get hurt in that Bama game, I'm not gonna necessarily say we would have won, but he would have gave us a way better shot. And I'm excited to see what he do this year. This is probably gonna be his last year with us because I would think Arch, has to take the reins the next year. So I'm excited to see how he plays. And we see, I think, Bama like two, I think. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how these boys react early in the year.
Well, I think it'd probably be a good idea, even if Arch Manning is close to being ready. I would set him this year and get him prepared for that SEC next year. If he's going to be the starter, there's no need to throw him out there, this year, especially when you got Quinn Ewers, who, like you said, if he didn't get hurt, I believe they would have beat Bama last year. Bama had a last second field goal to win that game.
There was a lot going on in that game. It was a flag. We should have had a safety. It was a flag for roughing the passer for a sack. Like it was a bunch of mess going on in that game. But you kind of just that's part of the game. You got to play with the refs. So you
Yeah.
know it. It was a situation that you just had to brush off your shoulder and move on. But Quinn Ewers, I have high expectations. I won't just say he's going to be a Heisman candidate, but I think he should throw for a lot of yards in this offense. We have a lot of targets for him in the receiving room. It should be a year that he finally breaks out because he hasn't done that yet. I mean, he had moments last year, but he hasn't really showed he's here in the college football atmosphere.
Right. And maybe he'll get that chance this year, staying healthy and everything. Uh,
Definitely.
so, so tonight the Bengals play the Falcons at Atlanta. The thing that I'm looking most forward to seeing tonight is with the Bengals defense, if they play any of their starters, how a potentially great rookie running back does against them. And Bijan Robinson, I know you know all about him.
Oh
I
yeah.
just want to see how that defense can do against them.
Yeah, I will hope you guys play the starters because that's what I enjoy. At least for the first two series, maybe. Let the starters get in there, and get some hits and kind of get their feet under themselves before the season start. I'm not too sure if they're going to throw Bijan out there. I would hope as well that he gets some carries, but I understand, with like you said earlier in the pod, guys get hurt and you kind of don't want to deal with that before the season starts. So I that's going to be definitely a game I tune in for the first quarter to see how the boys are playing.
You your Cowboys and the Seahawks.
Yeah, that
Anything you're looking forward in that one?
not necessarily because if we're not going to play our starters, which they showed that they're not going to play anybody in the preseason.
Yeah,
Um, I'm mainly just looking forward to see how Deuce Vaughn play because man, he is electric. Like the guy gets on the field and he is making people miss. He is very undersized, and I still do fear if a guy meets him in the hole clean and get a good hit on him, how would he respond? But he was making a lot of people miss last game, so that's going to be the main thing I'm looking out for. As well as our defense. I think our defense is kind of the show now for Dallas, which is kind of shocking to say. Um, our defense is going to have to carry us throughout the year because we got basically a whole new, not necessarily a whole new offense, but new new tendencies in our offense with Mike McCarthy, calling plays. So I don't really know how that's going to be, but I'm mainly gonna be excited to watch Deuce Vaughn in that Seahawks game.
you alluded to it earlier. Speaking of the defense, and you were talking about training camp fights. I did notice Micah Parsons got into a little scuffle with the lineman earlier in the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of mixed emotions on that because I feel like every fan wants to see their team, show that fight, show that feisty energy. But you don't want your guys to get hurt because we would have got news a few hours later that Michael Parsons broke his hand, and
Yeah,
that the whole fighting situation would have been pointless because
yeah,
I don't care about the whole feisty energy if we don't have you for 4 to 6 weeks. Like, so
yeah,
it's a mixed emotion on that. I love the energy, but we kind of gotta keep it in between the whistle. That's my thing. You can have that rah rah feisty, guys getting after it, but keep it between the whistle because you don't want definitely with the season creeping up like it is, you don't want guys out for 4 to 6 weeks over something petty.
yeah. And especially like my thing is all the time I see these training camp fights. Why are you punching somebody in the head that already has a helmet? That's only going to damage you more than it's going to damage them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. I know a lot of them are now wearing the little soft cap
Protective.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, but still, like you're hitting your hand on a helmet. You're not
Right.
doing anything to hurt the guy. Like
You're doing more
it,
damage to yourself. It's I've always like why are we doing this?
yeah, like
if
you're
if you're
gonna
gonna do
risk
anything, yeah, go ahead.
you're gonna risk breaking fingers over a guy pushing you late in practice. Like, come on, man.
And if you're going to do, I mean, if you're going to do it like Miles Garrett did. At least take the helmet off and swing it. It's dangerous
Uh,
for everybody, but you're not going to break your hand.
that moment was crazy. I cannot lie. That was a moment in history that would never be forgotten. To take a man's helmet off and use it against him is probably one of the craziest things I've seen on a football field.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a Browns hater. I'm a Steelers hater. So I just love seeing them two fight each other.
Like that
Great.
was a crazy moment, definitely.
Oh man. But yeah. So uh, the other thing I saw this week, the Blind Side. You've seen that, right?
Yes, I have.
You heard the story about the Michael Orr story, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
sad.
it's sad. It really is. Yeah. Uh, he thought he was adopted and he wasn't apparently, and the family made millions of dollars off of that movie, and he made like nothing. It's
Yeah,
really sad.
I don't understand how that happens because you think the family adopts you, right? But I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If a movie is about me, I need to see some type of dollar amount at the end of the day because that's crazy. They made what? Maybe that
Oh,
movie did.
300 million.
Yeah, I was about to say that movie did numbers. Like they didn't. It wasn't just some Netflix movie shipped out next week. Like
No.
that was in the theaters for months.
Oh, yeah, it's
So
blockbuster.
yeah, like how do you let that happen? I don't know if the parents was necessarily like his agents early on in his career when he was just getting into the league, but I would think whoever is running my financials or whoever is like my lawyer or something would figure out this information for me a lot earlier
Oh, yeah.
uh, in my career. Because what Michael Orr has been retired for a while now.
Yeah. Like, if somebody's coming up and they're like, hey, we're going to make a movie on your life story, you're like, cool. What kind of cut am I getting off of this?
Yeah,
And if it's,
I'm sorry to say that might be my first question.
yeah. And if they're like, nothing, I'll be like, well, you're not making the movie because I'm going to get a cut of this if it's going to be about my life story.
Yeah.
It's sad. He played like 8 seasons. He played for the Ravens, and then I think
hmm
he went to Carolina and played a couple of years. But yeah, it's sad seeing people take
Kind of
advantage of
weird
people.
because you would think a family that brought you in, when you was basically at your lowest as a child, um, would like put you in a situation like that. Like they basically went behind his back on all this information
Yep.
and capitalized. Like they had like that movie wasn't just like some pushover. Like I said, put into Netflix next week. Like they had Sandra Bullock as
Oh
one
yeah.
of the lead roles on that movie. Like
She won an Oscar award for that role. You
yeah,
know.
like how do you let that happen, man? Like 300 million and don't see a penny would have me hot. Like that would
Oh yeah.
be devastated on how like you can't really go back like have fix that relationship. That is like everything seems like a lie. Like did you bring me in because you saw me as your child, or did you
Yeah.
bring me in because you saw me as
A
a
lottery
literal
ticket. Yeah. And it's looking more like it's the lottery ticket, thing.
pedophile?
Like, hey, we'll get this, nice young stud of a football player and he's going to make millions and we'll get this movie made because, he didn't have anything and we brought him in and we'll make money and, we'll cut him out. That's the way it seems, and it's just a bad situation there. And
It's a
I don't
terrible.
know. Yeah, it's a terrible situation. Hopefully he gets some justice for it or, gets a little something out of it, at least a cut of that.
Yeah, I don't know all the legal and how that works, but I would definitely at least, at least start with 50 million. Like you owe me at least 50 million of that 300. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
the story of my life.
right.
You live like the scenes in that movie like are tear jerkers. Like it's not some, up in like towards the end it's up in arms and good energy and good vibes. But
Yeah,
throughout the movie there are some very down times for a teenager. You know, it's not something you do to a guy that you call your child or you looked at a point as your child. Like that's a very backstabbing move.
yeah. It's like at the end, like you said, it's a feel good moment and everything. And the movie makes you feel good after watching it. But the whole situation now, the backstory, I can never watch the movie again without thinking, well, they brought this guy in, this child in, and what they've done to him. You couldn't still there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Have you seen that Saturday Night Live skit with Peyton Manning in The Blind Side?
No, I didn't catch that one.
Well, it was like right after the movie came out, and Sandra Bullock's like driving down the road. She's like, "Get in the car." Peyton Manning's like, "Excuse me." She's like, "I said get in the car,
Oh,
and you're
okay,
going,
yeah,
you're going."
I do remember
He's like,
that.
yeah. She's like, "You're going home with me," and he's like, "Okay, whatever." And then he's like hiding behind the couch, and she's like yelling for him. He's like, then he's calling Eli, and he's like, "Eli, this is serious. This woman's crazy. Come and come and help me." And she keeps calling me Michael for some reason. It was hilarious. I'd forgotten all about that until it was brought back up after this. Kind of a funny thing there. It kind of funny in a way, but kind of like, well, maybe this was a little bit of truth. you know.
Yeah, every joke is a little bit of a truth in it. So it, I mean, from the way the story does start, it's a bit now weird to comprehend or how the situation has now unfolded. Like you basically forced a teenage boy to get into your car
Yeah,
and uh, eventually profit off of his name, his likeness for 300 million and don't give him a penny. Like that is a
yeah,
crazy story.
yeah. It's like, if you force a young teenage boy into your car now, I would say that would probably be illegal, and somebody's getting arrested.
Yeah, like man, this is not a good. The way the story's unfolding now is not great. It's not
No,
great.
it's not. And hopefully he gets something out of it and moves on. You have any other thing you'd like to talk about here? Any other topics?
I think we got to everything. I'm pretty excited. Like I said, like we was talking about earlier, to watch the Bengals and the Falcons game. I'm hoping that you guys put your starters in because, like I said, with my team, the Cowboys, for some reason, we don't play any of our starters in preseason. I hate that. I think guys has to at least take one hit before the season starts. Like, you can't have your first live action against another team, the first week of the season. So I'm mainly looking forward to Bengals and Falcons preseason game tonight.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. You want to give your Twitter or your X handle out?
Uh, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Legene53. It's Legene 53. Um, you know, give me a follow. We can talk about sports. We can be yelling from the couch. We can do a lot.
All right, Gene. I appreciate you coming on and fighting through these technical difficulties that we had. Maybe next time when we record, it'll be a little bit more smoother than it was today.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, I still had a great time. Anytime we're talking about sports, you can't not have a good time.
Oh yeah, me too. And next week, we could start previewing some Week 0 games in college football.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you next time on Yelling from the Couch.
Oh, thank you.